Good morning, YouTube. How are you doing? Get my camera set up here. Haven't had it on this tripod in a couple days. All right. How are you doing? I'm doing all right, personally. Got through a really ugly test yesterday, and I got 2 out of 3 questions pretty correct. Well, it's terrible English. I did well on 2 out of 3 questions. On the third question, I struggled a little bit. You know, water under the bridge. We'll see. We will see. I still have a mountain of work ahead of me. I have a final, a project for that class, a presentation, and some work for this class. That's kind of a project related to this class, and then this project. But the good news is I only have 1 test left. So I hope you appreciate my masking tape organizer, but I just kind of sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just like to kind of visually see, I could put it on a calendar, but unless I'm looking at the calendar, it's just not the same. So I kind of like to just kind of see in front of me everything that I have going on so I can say, okay, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, E in that order. At the same time, some of these projects that are due later require some work earlier. For example, and this is not really what I'm talking about today, but since I'm here, I bought this beautiful, I just put in the box too, beautiful little power analyzer for this electric bike project that I'm working on. Here it is. It has a shunt, which is a way to measure power while limiting the amount of current that's going through it. This thing will measure about 65 to 100 volts, up to 100 amps, so up to 10 kilowatts. Hopefully, what it says right there, something like 9,999 kilowatts or something. But anyways, get this camera pointed the right way. So, for example, that's something I think I'm going to do this weekend. Go to school, get some power readings on the bike. Not to get off topic, but I'll have to share some videos later on my experience in teamwork working on that bike. Teamwork is a funny thing. I love working in motivated, energetic, hardworking teams. I love teams like that. You don't always get a team like that. I'll just say that. Team dynamics can be tough with volunteers. Volunteers. I remember a while ago my friend was talking about something he was trying to do for like art production, like producing a show, whether it's a play or a physical, performance art or an art, like a gallery or something. But putting a show together, and he was talking about his volunteer group being maybe not the most coordinated. And I told him, look, you can't be a general. They're not your soldiers. You have to inspire them. You have to, get them to want to do the work when it's possible. Sometimes people are just busy and, they can't do stuff that you want them to do. Got the construction crew here again. In other news, very exciting stuff. They've been working on the bathroom for a couple weeks. Maybe I'll close the door. I think they're still doing the tile. It took them about a week. I swear it took them about a week to demo, a week to put in the bathroom, and they're still putting in tile, and who knows? Not my property. So what am I going to talk about today after that brief 4-minute introduction? Well, today we're going to talk about a few different topics. Quick shout out to, let me give a few shout outs. A quick shout out to Prepper Bob, putting out some good hunting videos. He nabbed himself a couple does recently, with some pretty choice shots. I mean, it's one thing that I know a lot of hunters have on their mind is, trying to be respectful of the animals that they take. And I think one way to be respectful is to, only take shots when, you have a good shot. And one of his does, scampered off a few yards this way, and the other one went a few yards the other way. They were gone from this world in relatively short time, and now we have some now he has some meat for his family. So I tell you, I'm a little bit intimidated by gutting and processing an entire deer. Kind of hear him banging around right now. Um, there's YouTube videos. It's not so much the gore, although I'm sure the first couple times it might. I'm not that squeamish, but I've never gutted an animal either. So um, I am a meat eater though, so it's a little. I suppose it's a little silly for me to be squeamish about that, considering that I'm fully support people butchering, other people butchering animals for me. So that's part of the reason I'm kind of sticking with some smaller game like coyote and rabbit to start with, if only for practical reasons that humping a deer out from the middle of the forest is on foot, or even a processed deer is still a bit of a thing. I don't know. I guess I guess Prepper Bob. He was talking about like it being on his property or on the property. I don't know if it was his property, but curious how he lugged those two deer back to home. Anyways, so a quick shout out to Prepper Bob. Another shout out to give a shout out to Conservative Views by Christine. I think that's the name of the YouTube channel. Let me see here. Christine has lived in the wilderness for a number of years. I don't think she's living in the wilderness now, but conservative views. Yeah, so the video channel is Conservative Views by Christine. So if you wanna get some good insight into what our fellow Americans think, about the way of the world, give that channel a quick view. She's got 60 subscribers, and if you like the kind of videos that she's putting out, I'm sure you can subscribe and learn more. Another shout out to the originator of the idea for the video today. Man, the noise has just become like a running joke. I had preparing for finals last week and finals next week, and like the worst possible time for all this construction noise. But sometimes life tests you, and I am literally being tested by life right now, but that's okay. Um, I conceded today that even if this test that I took, that's kind of an important test, didn't go well, that it's not the end all be all. It would, if the test doesn't go well, it would delay my plans a little bit, which would be it would potentially delay my plans, depending. Kind of complicated, but, you know, um, it's out of my hands now, anyways. Out of my hands now. So, Quantum of Conscious put a good video out recently called, and let's do just a quick curiosity check here. I don't know, I forgot how to figure out how many videos somebody has, but I swear it used to say on certain pages like how many videos they have, but maybe it doesn't. Anyways, Quantum of Conscious, 2,496 subscribers. Let's give him 4 more subscribers. Let's get him up to 2,500. That would be fun, right? Put out a video recently called Why the Economic Collapse Never Comes. And I have to admit, I clicked on it just because I wanted to hear his opinion on the economic collapse, and I was pretty pleasantly surprised to hear him talk about a lot of really, really prescient things. Let me make sure I use that word correctly before I overwhelm myself. Maybe not the best word. Relevant, things to current going-ons in the world. So first, about collapse, the collapse of, I think he was talking about economic collapse specifically, hence the title. Some people kind of relate it to societal collapse or to the collapse of infrastructure that leads to societal collapse or the collapse to, rule of law, whatever, however you kind of, let's talk about financial collapse at least a little bit because that's what he was talking about. Why hasn't it come? Kind of leads into the next point that he talked about, money creation. We're not, whether or not we're living in a hologram is kind of not what I mean when I say we're not living in a real world, but there's a lot of artificial forces in the market. And I don't think it takes, that great of imagination to kind of see that even something like a conversation between people, for example, if there was anyone, I want to say ABC let out the news, all the fake news stuff that killed the market. Not killed the market, but hurt the market a few points. The news about Flynn, was going to turn on Trump and all this stuff. And anyways, the stock market dipped 300 points. So imagine if someone related to that news told their buddies, hey, we're going to release this news. It might hurt the stock market a little bit. If you want to short a couple things real quick, now would be a good time. And phone calls like that, take place all the time. So, that's kind of one example. But, with all the just forces behind the scene, the incredible amounts of money and conversation and kind of inside knowledge, and deals and contracts and things going certain ways, there subsidies and just there's a lot of we live in a mostly free market, but it's not a completely free market, and it's a market that's been bastardized, if you will, by not just American forces and American businesses, but when OPEC colludes to do things, if another government colludes to debase their currency or to artificially inflate their currency, when countries get together and decide, we're going to sanction someone, or, like the EU just recently came out and said they want to, condemn Saudi Arabia for something about military arms and using them for ill purposes, or, at any rate, there's a lot of collaboration by a variety of different groups that have real influence on the market. It doesn't really matter what the specific group is or what their individual impact is. I think it's just important to kind of understand that, like recently I was watching a video on YouTube, the guy's talking about, these gold people that meet in London and talk about the price of gold every day. And London, of course, being a pretty big financial center. But there's a lot of crazy forces at play in the market. So when you talk about why hasn't the market collapsed, excuse me, I think something important to understand is, why should the market collapse? Should the market collapse? Is there any reason that the market is not, not feasible or sustainable? So if you look at the US Debt Clock website, usdebtclock.org, you'll see some different things. So we have a debt and we have a deficit. The deficit is the year over year. It's the, imports versus exports, or, what you make versus what you spend. So let's see here. So our federal budget deficit right now is 5,000,000,558,566,175,678,000 and climbing. $5 trillion budget deficit. So we're spending $5 trillion more a year than we're making. Collecting, taking from people, stealing from people, depending on your view of income tax. I'm not really a fan of income tax personally. We have a lot of people working in government, and honestly, automation is going to reduce the need for these big governments. Already has, but it's going to continue to. U.S. national debt, 1,000 million, billion, trillion, $20 trillion, 20 trillion, 575 billion, 133 million. And millions don't matter. Millions only add up to billions, and a couple billion ain't that much. But 20 trillion, a trillion being 1,000 billion, even a trillion isn't that much, but 20 trillion, well, it's 20 times more than a trillion, which is 1,000 times more than a billion. So 20 trillion is 20,000 times more than a billion, and a billion's, a chunk of change. So to owe 20,000 of billions, that's a lot. The funny part is the more we print, the less it's worth. So, the way we're printing money, take a gross example of, imagine we owed 20 trillion 100 years ago. Well, 100 years ago, you could buy a soda for a nickel. So 20 trillion 100 years ago would be a monumentally more amount of value than 20 trillion is today. That's why your grandparents and great grandparents bought houses and land for, 5, 10, 20 bucks, 40 bucks. Like, really? They bought 10 acres of land for 10 bucks? Yes, they did. Okay. Because the dollar, we've been inflating the dollar. I haven't been inflating the dollar, I don't think, but other people have been inflating the dollar. It's what happens with fiat currency very, very often. I do not believe there's been a fiat currency that has fought inflation. It's just too easy to print. It's too tempting. It's too tempting to print money. Which kind of gets into why the economy hasn't collapsed. The government with this ability to borrow money and to change the interest rate, through the Federal Reserve, which I understand isn't the government, but whoever's controlling it, they're doing something. It only works because people, when I say people, the system allows it to work. We're not, even though we can sort of print money as much as we want to, other countries still need to trade with us. We still need to use that money for things. Other countries still need to want to use our money to trade, whether it's convert it to cash to buy oil, or just use it in cash for other deals, or accept it in their country, even in the sense of a foreign exchange rate. Like, if you're a millionaire and you want to leave America with $1 million, you'd like to go somewhere and have that $1 million be worth something. You don't want to be in Zimbabwe and have $1 million and come over here and, buy a Big Mac. And I don't even think a million Zimbabwe, whatever they are, would even buy a Big Mac, because they had some just ludicrous hyperinflation. I recently came into some information that in Venezuela they're weighing their money when they pay for things. How much weight of money do you have? Crazy. Crazy stuff. Brings me into the third topic, real versus fraud. Is the dollar real? Well, it's real in the sense that everyone keeps using it. Is the stock market real? Yeah. Today, the stock market is worth... What's the stock market worth today? The Dow Jones Industrial Average is worth 24,231, units today, dollars. I don't know if that's dollars or units or percent or what it is, but it's a number. And it's just been going up and up and up and up and up. It's been going up for 5 years. Let's see. From 1980 till 1995, it was kind of slow. In case you haven't seen a graph of the Dow Jones Industrial Complex, or Industrial Average, from 1980 to right now. But we have I think we have the oil, some Lehman Brothers. Actually, Lehman was around here, I think. Or was Lehman earlier? I know there's some Lehman stuff in '08. We have the little dot-com bubble. We have the sort of bank real estate bubble right here. We have kind of Obama a little bit right there. I don't know. And then at the end of Obama coming into Trump, we have this craziness, and I'm not foolish enough to say that, we can attribute the stock market rise to Trump. Certainly changing presidents and changing politics does affect the market in very large ways. It is interesting, though. It'd be interesting. I don't know what the stock market would be doing if Hillary got elected, but I guess we'll never know. So, coming into the fourth topic, the third one was real versus fraud. The fourth one is actual value versus perceived value. And it kind of goes to the original idea of economics, which is supply and demand. And why is Tesla stock high? Why is Apple stock high? Well, Apple stock's high because they have a lot of cash. and they sell a ludicrous amount of stuff and they have a very high income. Why is Tesla stock high? Because Tesla's hot. That's why. They have cash problems, they have big financial problems, they have production problems. Look, I like Tesla, I'm loving what Musk is doing, but Tesla from a financial point of view, financial strength point of view, should not be worth, what is it, 300-400? I'm embarrassed, I don't even know what it is. Oh, I should go TSLA, I think that's the ticker. At least on NASDAQ, yeah. 306. Oh, too bad it was 317 a while ago. I'm gonna get some bad news. Problems with the Model 3 production, I think, has been giving them grief. Yeah, they kind of reached their peak at 383. But they were at $38 in 2013, and then they jumped up to $166 in September 6th. So, I mean, to go from $34 to $340, that's a factor of 10, which is like 1,000%, increase. So, so is Tesla stock worth $306? Well, the market thinks it is today. Back in June, the market thought it was $383. So, maybe that's representative of the fact that they've been having a little bit of trouble. But the point is, whether or not you believe the stock market is a fraud or not, today it's worth 24,000. Tomorrow, if it's worth 20,000, does that mean that it wasn't worth 24 today? No, it just means that tomorrow the market decided that it was only worth 20,000. So, the market is a very interesting thing. I don't know if any of you play in the market. I don't. Perhaps someday I will, but I'm not a market master, and I think to make money in the market, you either have to kind of put a lot of time and energy into it, be a little bit more financially savvy, or kind of be hooked into industry a little bit more in certain ways. Or maybe it's just practice and hard work, I don't know. Maybe you can just teach yourself how to do it, just hit the grindstone and teach yourself how to trade stocks. I feel like that'd be a little rough, but I suppose it's possible. Brings me into inflation. Yeah, inflation's a bitch. I don't know about you, but my bills are going up. They're trying to raise my rent. Netflix went up. Gas is going up. I feel like insurance gone up. Phone's the same. Phone's the same. Electricity is about the same. Oh, internet. Oh man, trying to raise my internet from like 40 to 60 bucks. I got like 2-year promotion. I complained to him for when I got the first year at 40 bucks a month, and I complained to him get the second year at 40 bucks, and then I couldn't. I lost the battle, and I'm paying I think 60 a month right now. Goddamn internet. Excuse me. Inflation's bad. If you haven't checked out what's going on in Venezuela, here, let's Google. Let's do some Googling, guys. Googling's always fun. Venezuela inflation. How about chart? Graph or chart? I like chart. Man. This is, when they say exponential growth, this is exponential growth. That's really freaking huge exponential growth. What is this? I wish it gave the chart. Let's see, what's this one? We have the blue, which is the implied inflation, and the red, which is the actual inflation. Interesting. I don't know how that could be so low. What they're saying, like 40%. That's weird. The Venezuela bolivars per dollar exchange rate. So back in 2011, let's say in 2013 and a half, in June 2013, maybe July or August 2013, about maybe 80 or 90 bolivars per dollar. Okay, so you take $1 down there, you get 80 bolivars. Right now, and actually let me go the other way. To buy $1 costs 80 bolivars. Now it costs 1,000 bolivars to buy a dollar, or in 2006 or whenever this graph came out. So what would you do if it took that's let me just do the math on that. 1,000 divided by 80, that's 12 times more expensive. What would you do if everything in your life cost 12 times more? You'd start hunting down stray dogs, probably. Inflation is a bitch. Now, are we going to have hyperinflation in the States? You would think. The way they print money, man, you would think. But the funny part is that the demand for the dollar just, the supply of dollars is increasing, but the demand for the dollar is increasing too, largely. Even with large forces abroad colluding to trade in not dollars. Brazil, a lot of BRIC countries are talking about it. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, the S in BRICS, China. I guess Brazil, yeah, China's in BRICS too. But anyways, a lot of other countries are talking about the petro yuan. People are falling out of love with the dollar, not because it doesn't have value, even though other countries probably aren't amused with our QE as much as we are, but they don't like the strings that are attached to the dollar. They don't want to deal with the government, the American government. The American government is not the friendliest government in the world. I don't know if you've noticed this, but we're not the friendliest government in the world, and it's causing tension. The government would probably claim that it's in the interest of national security, and I'm certainly not a national security expert, so I can't really say that I'm sure that our government's making everything worse. But a lot of tension going on right now. Reminds me of something I want to add to the video. So into the he was talking about some plumber bullshit. I'm gonna kind of leave some plumber bullshit aside, but he's talking about how the plumber tried to charge $500 off this chart and then knocked it down to $475, and I was like, I like the use of the chart. That's some good bullshit. People like charts. Another thing he was talking about, and I'll kind of leave the collapse stuff as it is. I'm not, I don't spend a lot of time studying the economy, but quantitative easing, inflation, what currencies the world uses, what's going on in Venezuela. These things are important, and they affect our lives every day. Every single day we go into more debt, it just makes our grandchildren more poor. Not just because it's going to come out of their taxes and benefits and failed pensions and such. I don't think they're even going to have pensions when our grandkids are around, but all this inflation, think of all the people that are grandparents in Venezuela right now. Did they think that their wealth, all their savings were going to drop in value by 12 and a half times? If you were a millionaire, you would now be worth, $800,000, or sorry, 80,000. Is that right? Yeah, $80,000 from being a millionaire to being worth a year's salary, a good salary, 2 years crappy salary. For anyone making 40 grand, no offense. We all do what we can to get by, but man, it's going to be hard to retire making 40 grand a year. Trust me, I've made 40 grand a year. It's not a good wage. At least not in California. You'll go broke. You'll be living in your car 40 grand a year. So he was talking about Google Alexa and cheap TVs and really interesting stuff, I already have enough things in my house with a microphone, my cell phone, my laptop. I don't believe the outlets have microphones, but this insidious seeping in of technology into our lives. It's great. I'm on the laptop every day. I kind of hate it, to be honest with you. I do so much school stuff. I can't. A lot of the stuff I do is by hand, which is nice. But yeah, like today I'm going to be on the prod. So let's see. Yeah, I mean the final, the e-bike physical stuff is by hand and in person, but the other stuff is a programming thing, another programming related thing, and then just like a Word document and some files and stuff. So yeah, lots of computer stuff. Can't avoid it. And the cell phone's nice for videos and communication, and it's a camera, and So I don't hate technology, but just kind of a drag to be staring at a screen all day. One couple more things to talk about. Korea recently launched a missile. They've been launching a few missiles. Went up 4,000 kilometers. That's way the shit up there. That's a long way up there. And it had a relatively short, X distance. It didn't go very far, but the point is they didn't aim it in such a way that its maximum distance. They weren't trying to achieve maximum distance. So the velocity, you can imply the maximum distance. So, anyways, yeah, war is hell, and would be would just be a disaster. I mean, their leader's not a great guy, but I'm certainly not hoping for war myself. I can't imagine many sane people that would. I don't know what you do with a country that just feels like launching missiles all the time. Not all the time, but an unpredictable country. Like if Russia fires off missiles, that's one thing, but we kind of have an understanding with Russia. If China fires off missiles, that's another thing. If Brazil fires off missiles, like if, I don't know, like if Iran started firing off missiles, we definitely wouldn't be amused. So, it's scary stuff. Definitely scary stuff. Is it going to make me go out and, buy some more preps? Not really immediately. I mean, the individual likelihood of a certain event going up or down, unless it was like, a nuclear reactor is having issues, maybe I'd go buy some nuclear fallout prep stuff. I really am shit on my nuclear fallout stuff. San Onofre, used to have San Onofre running. It's not running right now. I don't know if we have another nuclear plant locally, but I know there are a few, up and down the west coast. In fact, where is my nearest nuclear plant? Well, Diablo Canyon Power Plant, but is that a nuclear plant? Yeah, see, I think that was the only... Yeah, California hasn't really been a fan of nuclear plants. Wait, Rancho Seco Nuclear Generating Station. Oh, there's one up by Sacramento. Well, anyways. So, Korea. Yeah, just keep prepping. I mean, that's the best advice in life. Be prepared. I was a Boy Scout. It's kind of lame in some ways, but in other ways, at least it gave me some fundamentals. Not a ton of fundamentals, but some fundamentals. Some fundamentals. If some knot tying skills, some lashing skills, some camp skills. Not nearly. I never even started a fire with a bow and a stick in Boy Scouts. We should have. We really should have. I don't know why we didn't. How to dunk first years in canoes. It's a very important skill. One year when we were like the second year from being the oldest scouts, I think. Either the second or third year from being the oldest scouts. We were on the canoe trip and we were determined not to get dunked. Okay. So we had 3 canoes. So we got 3 canoes and we lashed them together with our life vests. And we made, well, it was a triple canoe. We had a different name for it, but it was a triple canoe. And it was almost unsinkable because even though each individual canoe kind of whirled a little bit, because they were tied together, it was kind of like easier to stabilize. And I think it might have been one of the greatest accomplishments of the year. I think that year not that year, but I think a later year when I was senior patrol leader. Whoop whoop, you know. If only for my own amusement, you know. I don't know. It was kind of a lot of work, to be honest, and young guys aren't always the most motivated to kind of make things happen on their own, especially at night at school. You know, I don't know. We always had the meetings on a school night in the middle of the week, and I feel like it would have been better to have meetings on a Saturday or something. I don't know. But anyways, I think that one year we had a snow jamboree where you kind of do a bunch of events in the snow, and we came in second place. But the funny part was, first place had to plan the next year's jamboree, so we always kind of joked that like we really won first place because we didn't have to plan next year's event. But we would have gotten first too, but one of the scouts in our troop, we were doing this thing where you all put your feet into like a 2x4 with your feet, each foot on each side, and you try to move in unison. I know it's stupid, but anyways, harder than it sounds, and we were having trouble with it, and one of the scouts was showing a little bit of poor sportsmanship, and yeah, we got some demerits for that, so, a little bit unfortunate. Anyways, number 10. Come on, let's talk about 10 things. And this video is so long right now, but that's okay. 10th thing. All right, the 10th thing is what I'm going to talk about next. Ooh, Harbor Freight Catalog. How to get prepared for only $89.99. And you know what? You can compare this to the Ironton at $179.99, and it's everything you need to weld. And it used to be $110. Now it's only $90 or $89.99. It's also new. Did you know this is brand new? It's new. So save $90 with this super coupon. We'll talk more about this welder in the next video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and take it easy.